Welcome back to the Panic Room, everyone, and to another book review today. So, guys, I actually finally got to read one of the books that was like on my top 5 books I want to read the most right now off of my Amazon wish list. It was this video right here. I'll have it linked down below if you want to go check it out. But today's book is No Longer Human by Osamu Dazai. Right there. You guys know I'm excellent with names. So I was sent this book by my dear friend, Mr. Morningstar, and it did not disappoint. I've been wanting to read it forever, and this is another one of those books. I know I've had a few videos like this now. This is another one of those books that is going to be a little hard to talk about simply because it is, I guess, very meta in a lot of ways. It's one of those books that it's, to me, more about the experience. This is not a book that's gonna make you feel good. It is kind of depressing. But you guys know me now, I'm down for that weird shit, right? So, essentially, what you have here is your narrator just does not feel like he fits in. And before you go anywhere, I know you're like, that premise has been done forever and it's been, done to death. You're right. But in true, amazing Japanese horror fashion, this is radically different than a lot of the other ways I've seen that premise put forth. For this one, you have this man's life. You get told about these main events of his life. However, there is such a focus on the bleakness, the emptiness of this man and why he feels this way. And you find out over the course of the book, this is not a spoiler in any way, that you are reading journal entries, essentially. But I will say, they don't really come off like that. So I was kind of shocked when I got to the end and saw that. So you kind of have this whole thing where this man kind of comes upon this other man's journal in a roundabout way and wants to get it out. And that's essentially what you're reading. And, again, there are events that happen in his life. He really deals with a lot of monsters, but to hear him tell it, he's always felt this detachment from society. Even down to really, really mundane things. Again, not a spoiler, but early on in his life, he talks about how he thinks it's really weird that people eat 3 times a day or get together for meals and stuff, and how it's very robotic to him. So I think you guys get what I'm saying. He finds this detachment from even the most mundane acts. Of course we have, him having trouble having relationships, things like that, and he tries to fill this with various vices. He does have a friend through the course of the book, and he does have a few romantic type relationships, but all of these seem to be very surface level. I didn't get that he was self-centered because I know you're probably thinking oh, he's probably just this big jerk. And in a lot of ways he is, because a lot of the shit that happens to him is his own doing. Part of me, and maybe this is harkening back to my mental health days, part of me thinks that he truly did not understand how to function in certain situations, and in true human fashion, grasps at whatever he can to fill it, be that alcohol or, whatever, to try and feel that emptiness. Because, we're emotional creatures. When you don't feel emotion, you will try to find another avenue in order to feel something. And you see him doing that. And there are some moments that are very tragic, incredibly tragic for this man, where you almost think okay, he's hit rock bottom, and then he just keeps digging, and he keeps going lower. But by and large, to me, what is so horrific about this book is that it is exploring this idea of someone who just is a square peg, kinda. They do not fit in, and we've all been there, in some form or fashion. There is something about each of us that just does not fit in with the crowd. Except for me, I'm completely normal. But then this guy takes it up a degree, he doesn't fit in at all. And so it's almost like you're watching this alien being as he tries to do human-like things. And I don't know, it's very interesting, I think. It's very sad because you see how not fitting in and not being normal really, really breaks him as a person. And, how he just kind of feels like he is nothing because he is not like everyone else. And again, you see these vices that he goes after and how they just don't work because most of the time they never do. And this is very much in the realm of these other Asian authors that I've read that I've absolutely fallen in love with. Things like The Vegetarian or Earthlings. To me, the horror here is in the bleakness, in the desperation, the depression. And, you could say all day long, well, that's not really horror, there's no blood, guts, and gore, and that's fine. You're free to feel like that. But to me, this is the horror. This is far scarier than any, blood, guts, and gore to me. And that is why I think I just love Korean and Japanese horror books. Because they're not afraid to dive deep. When you put this book down, you're like, I think I need to go like hug a kitten or something, you know, because it's very bleak. Now, is this the bleakest one I've ever read? No, but it still nails that. It still nails that depression. And I think the thing that is really attractive to me about this type of horror book is that we can all understand it to some level. If you've dealt with depression, if you've dealt with, you know, feelings of isolation, things like that, you're going to see some of that. You're going to see a piece of yourself. And, you know, I've often kicked around the idea that that is what makes a book good to us, is that when we can kind of see a little bit of a reflection of ourselves. And I do that with a lot of these authors, and this one was no different. So guys, that is it. I know this is a bit of a shorter review, but it is a very short book. You know, I want to say it is, let's see, it is not even 200 pages. It's 177 pages. So it's very short. I hesitate to call it an easy read. It's not the hardest thing in the world. I've definitely read worse, but, you know, it is kind of depressing, so keep that in mind. But if you are a fan of these Asian horror books that I've talked about on the channel, The Vegetarian, Earthlings, things like that, I don't think you're going to be disappointed with No Longer Human, because this was very enjoyable. This is that same kind of writing that I love. The kind of writing that takes it there with the mental stuff, that is not afraid to look at the really, really, really dark parts of the human animal. So, No Longer Human. Guys, thank you for hanging out for another book review here in the Panic Room. You know, it means the world to me that you're here. I know this book isn't necessarily new, so some of you have read it. I would love to know what you thought. And tell me, are there any other Korean, Japanese kind of horror books? I know that I've been recommended Almond, and so I'm kind of on the lookout for that one. I would like to read that one too. I've seen that from a few of my other friends as well, so I would like to read that one, but of course I'm always open for suggestions. You know, I really, really have fallen in love with almost all of the Korean and Japanese horror books that I've read, so I'm always open to that. So let me know down below. And guys, of course, if you like this, please hit like, hit subscribe. It would really help me out. And until next time, bye for now.